Hey, if you listen to this podcast, I think you will also love my newsletter, Elevator Gazette. I talk a lot about elevating your professional and your personal lives. Make sure to subscribe to my newsletter. Go to anushakhannan.com/email list, and I'm sure you will love it. Join everyone who is like-minded. And now let's get into the episode. Hey, before we dive into this week's episode, if you've been enjoying the show, I'd love your support. Take just 10 seconds to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps others discover the wisdom and inspiration that I share on the Pivot to Balance podcast. Let's build a community of balance seekers together. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to share the love. Now let's dive into the episode. Hello and welcome to the Pivot to Balance podcast. I'm your host, AK, and I hope you're doing well. In a world that pulls us in a million different directions and with a billion distractions, finding balance can feel like an ambiguous quest. Join me on this podcast as I try to navigate life's twists and turns with mindfulness, purpose, and grace. In each episode, we will dive into topics like self-care, personal growth, mindset shifts by sharing practical insights, stories, and maybe even interviews. Get ready to pivot, to recalibrate, and find your balance. Follow the Pivot to Balance podcast, and I will see you on the other side. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode on the Pivot to Balance podcast. How are you doing? It's been a month. I have some updates on my front. So, exciting news. I moved back to Boston. It's a full circle moment, but I will always be grateful to Cleveland for one thing, which is I started the Pivot to Balance podcast in Cleveland. I remember it was fall. I was just recording the episodes. I think I even talked about tank tops or something in that episode, and I was just cringing at it when I listened to it, but whatever. I've had quite the journey, as you might have been able to see with my inconsistent recording and my inconsistent posting schedule and all these frantic things that I've been doing the last year. It was crazy. Honestly, the last year, living in a city where I didn't know anybody, which is perfect, right? Because when I moved to Boston, I didn't know anybody. But Cleveland, which was not exactly Cleveland, I lived in a suburb, and I can tell you now, I lived in Stowe, S-T-O-W, in Ohio, which is near Cleveland. I mean, Stowe is near Cleveland. Damn it, Anusha. I did not like it. I didn't like the city. I didn't like the place. My life wasn't exactly great there. I'm being totally vulnerable with you here. But there was one thing that I learned out of this experience, which I think I already knew, but at the same time, I was just not ready to accept it, which is I like to control things. I like to be in control of things, and I want things to go the same exact way I want things to happen. And this 1 year has just been one big lesson of, yeah, that's not going to happen, Anusha. That's just not going to happen. Whatever you want, it's not how life works. So today we're going to talk about the art of letting life flow. And changes in my life happened once I started learning this. And I've talked about this on like my other podcasts too, where like the law of detachment, the law of like not being so fixated on what the outcome should be. It's great to talk about things, but to follow it, ooh, whole other thing. So I'm here to tell you some things, but at the same time, I know it can be incredibly hard to actually take it and implement it. So just try to stick with me here. Maybe this might change your perspective. So life, it often feels like a constant push and pull, right? Like we're swimming against the current. We're trying to force outcomes. We're trying to control situations and dictate how things should unfold or like happen. But what if I told you there's another way? A way you just let go of that resistance and allow life to flow naturally. The first thing I want to talk about, and before I say that, I want to say, whenever I say that, hey, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans, I'm not saying that you should totally give up and just sit on the couch and be like, things are just supposed to happen to me. I'm just going to sit here. The only thing that's going to happen to you is health problems, so please don't ever think like that. But I do believe that the first thing I'm going to talk about, which is the power of acceptance. And like I said, acceptance doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself to a situation. It's about recognizing what you can and cannot control. It's understanding that life is full of unpredictability, and sometimes the best thing we can do is to just surrender to the flow of events. So just imagine this. Think about a time when something didn't go as planned. Maybe it was a job opportunity that fell through, a relationship that ended, or a goal that took longer to achieve than you anticipated. In those moments, our natural reaction is to often fight against it, fight against what's happening, to try and force this thing back on track, to have it. I wanted it. I really wanted this to happen. Damn it, like, how could this just not work out? Right? That's the reaction we have. What if instead of resisting, we paused, took a deep breath, and accepted the situation as it is? I learned one thing the last year is like, it's okay for law of attraction and stuff like that to work, which is like, you want something, you think about it. But when you obsessively think about it, when you obsessively in an unhealthy way think about it, which is like, I will wake up and only think about this. I will not do anything else. I'm going to complain about this 24/7, which makes it likely to just run away from you, right? Acceptance allows us, it gives us a space to release the emotional burden that comes with trying to control everything. It gives us a space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. And in this space is when we kind of find clarity and the strength to just live life on a day-to-day basis. The second thing is the most important thing I want to talk about, which is finding balance in the flow. So let's say that we've accepted, okay, I have accepted change. Like, I've accepted that life is what's supposed to happen when you're busy making other plans. Great. But I still have to live my life, right? So once you've sort of accepted the acceptance, the next step is to find balance. And balance is about going about your routine, knowing when to take action, knowing when to take a step back, knowing when to speak up, knowing when to listen, knowing when to push forward, and knowing when to rest. And balance also, and when I say balance, it doesn't mean doing everything perfectly or evenly. It's just about being flexible and only respond to things that need your attention. It's also understanding that there are seasons for everything, a season to grow, a season to harvest, a season to rest. And I love living in the US right now because I do see like all the seasons. And I'm like, yeah, we kind of have to adapt. Like, I don't like summer, but there is no point in complaining because fall is right around the corner. So I just have to sit through this. And then fall's here. And we'll celebrate 1 year of the Pivot to Balance podcast. Amazing. But in practical terms, finding balance could mean setting boundaries in your work life to avoid burnout, learning to say no when your plate is already full, or just giving yourself permission to take a break when you need it. It's about creating a life that feels sustainable to you, where your mental, emotional, and physical well-being are given all the care that they deserve. So a couple things I will talk about, which I've honestly talked about in all of my episodes, which is the first thing is just the best ways to cultivate acceptance and balance is through mindfulness. Just be present in the moment. Observe your thoughts. I heard someone say this once, like, get out of your own body, not literally, just like observe yourself as a third person. Just be like, why is this person thinking so much? Haven't you like seen your friend just rant and just frantically talk about something and like, dude, chill. You can do the same for yourself. And I did this, and that's why I'm saying it. You can make more conscious decisions about how to respond to life's changes. The second thing is my favorite, all-time favorite, gratitude journaling. When I don't do gratitude journaling, I can just see myself being so negative. I will think about all the things that's not happening to me. I'd be like, I didn't get this. I didn't get to talk to this person. I didn't get that job. I didn't do this work. I wanted to do that. But you also have a roof over your head. You can eat. You can sleep. You don't really go through a lot of the things other people do. So maybe be a little grateful for that. And I'm not saying this to diminish anything else that's going on with you, because I do get that everyone has problems and your problem is the biggest problem for you. You don't have to compare your problem size and the intensity of it to someone else's and feel like, oh, I should be grateful. It's not in that sense, but more like I do have good things also happening for me. The third one is set realistic goals. When you're coming out of sort of this negative, just this, oh my God, what's going on in my life kind of a situation, I would say just like have realistic small goals. The one that I did was, I am just going to get up every day and start dressing up. Even if I hate it, even if I don't really like my life right now, I decided, even when I was in Cleveland, that I would just dress up. I would just dress up like I am having the best life. And I also want you to remember that it's okay to adjust your goals as life changes. There's no one certain thing that you just have to do in life. This is the part where you're letting life flow, where you're being open to change and flexible in your approach. And the last thing, right? Like, sit down each night, or at least every other night. Take the time to just sit and reflect. Is there anything that you're resisting about your life? Could you be more accepting of it? If not, why? Are you maintaining a healthy balance between your personal and professional life? Take it from someone that has no balance in that sense. Because I love working. I genuinely love working, but I also never let myself burn out. But I don't think I have the balance that everybody's talking about. But here's what I'm trying to say. When people look at me, some people might think, why is she doing so much? But for me, balance is I love doing these things and they make me so happy. But I also love taking days off and being like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to watch my favorite TV show, eat popcorn, and sleep. And that's okay. I do believe that reflecting helps you stay aligned with who you are as a person, your future version. And it just helps you understand, like, you're just not going through the motions. You're just not reacting to everything, because you don't need to react to everything in life. Sometimes you just be like, cool. Great point. Thanks, life. But I'm not going to react to that because I have better things happening for me. That's the one biggest lesson I've learned last year. And I am just so grateful, so excited to be back on track, little by little, step by step, baby steps. Yeah, as we wrap up today's episode, I just want to leave you with this thought. Life is like a river. I've written this down. I'm not saying this from my mind. I wrote this down before I started this episode. Life is like a river, constantly moving, shifting, and changing. We can either fight against the current or learn to go with the flow. So by accepting this and thinking about the balance that comes with it, we allow ourselves to experience life more fully, with less stress and more peace. Now I want you to go grab a cup of lemon water, just take a deep breath, calm the fuck down. If you enjoy this episode, please just follow, leave a review, share it with someone you think might need this reminder of just, hey, calm the fuck down. Just let life flow a little easier. Remember, again, balance is not about perfection. You don't have to do things that everybody else is doing. It's just about making space for what truly matters to you. AK out.